Welcome to Nassau Community College Forum. This program explores our rich educational environment, including our dedicated faculty, administration, student clubs, and more than 70 fields of study, along with the students who make this college the largest single-campus community college in the state and is the first choice for one of every 4 college-bound high school graduates in Nassau County.
Hello, I'm Kevin Boston Hill, and welcome to Nassau Community College Forum, where each week we will shine a spotlight on a different department, club, or area here at Nassau Community College. Today, we will explore library reference services. Our guest today is Dr. Arthur Friedman, the chairperson of Library Reference Services.
Nope. Sorry, I'll have to correct you on that one.
Oh, please do.
I am senior member of the library faculty. The head of the unit is actually Christine Faraday, and the library chairperson is Nancy Williamson.
Okay, well,
but that's all right.
I stand corrected. I guess that gave you more title than you really want. That's not a problem. But you're knowledgeable enough anyway to be here, so we do welcome you to be here. Not a problem. So, I mean, since you did correct me on your title, let's get in a little bit more into you and how you started your career here. I know you've been here for a few decades, so yes, I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge. I'm
finishing my 41st year at Nassau Community College. I actually started in education as a teacher of physical sciences and taught in Maryland. I did time in the United States Army. Coming out, I was working at Brooklyn College for their School of Education, and it was during the height of New York City's fiscal crisis. And while I have a degree in media and radio and television and education, I saw that the jobs were typically at that time in libraries.
Okay.
So I went back and got my library degree in 1978, and I came to Nassau Community College, starting as its media librarian, and I've been here ever since, and I've had a great career.
Okay, excellent. Well, and I'm sure the students and the faculty and basically the whole Nassau community has really benefited from your level of expertise over the time. And I'm sure they have, so you don't have to. But let's get right down to it, because I know when most people, myself included, or especially college students, think of the library, they think of it as that big building with all the books that we try to avoid like the plague, right? I mean, at least I did when I was in school. But how would you say that the image or perception of the library has changed over the years?
Our libraries have evolved. While we do have collections of books, more students are probably coming to the library to use computers to do their work in terms of finding materials, using online databases, preparing their materials using all the resources that you can do on a computer, doing a lot of study activities in both individual and small groups. And I think that's probably one of the biggest changes. People used to think about the library as a place that you go and it's very quiet, and the library is going to tell you to keep it down and not talk. Well, there are areas of the library that are very noisy because groups are working continuously. In fact, they enjoy that aspect of the library, being able to come in groups, have their computers open, plug in, keep them powered up, have resources available to them, and be able to communicate to do their work. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day, which I thought was kind of interesting. My office is on the 3rd floor of the library, and right outside my area, my office is an area where many of the nursing students congregate and work as study groups.
Right.
And people tend to go to the exact same place every day that they come in the library. And after a while, I get to know who they are, and they get to know who I am. As I walk past and I see, oh, you're sitting in the wrong seat today. And we joke around about that. So it's been a changing environment from that standpoint.
Okay. It's funny that you say that the library, we usually think of it as that quiet place. And I think of the recent, I guess, the lottery commercial where the New York lottery commercial, you have the committee of librarians meeting and they're all quiet. And somebody starts to, I won, you shh. And, And that's the impression that we all have. But yeah, so you talk about the nursing students, how they find like they congregate always to the same area when they come in. Is that the norm when you have groups of students who come in and kind of always congregate in the same general area as when they come back?
People get very comfortable in terms of it. They become the libraries a second home. It's almost as if you went into your home and you're doing study and you have the exact same spot at home. You sit on this chair, you prepare your cup of coffee or something else, and it has to be in this spot on the desk, and you lay out your materials, and it's that second nature.
Right.
And you watch as they set up. This is our spot. And we have chalkboards, so people who want to do work in anatomy and physiology, want to draw pictures, they have the chalkboard there. We have some labs. Well, we have one lab on the third floor that the nursing students can actually reserve to work in a group setting for that purpose. And there's probably much more of that is going to be going on.
Right. And I was going to ask if you notice that there are the same group of students who sit in the same areas every day. Are there opportunities for them to reserve those particular tables or things?
Not the tables, but a study room that's on the third floor that's been reserved for nursing students.
Okay.
They can reserve, in fact, they can reserve it online.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember something we used to call Pathfinders, where you went to the library and there were these written guide sheets that you can pick up that help you explore subject areas. Well, that has gone electronically, and what we're using now is what we call a LibGuide for that purpose.
Okay.
And almost every one of the nursing classes has a LibGuide for it. And built right into that LibGuide is the opportunity to reserve the classroom.
Got it.
So the students get familiar with that, go right to it, reserve it for when they want to use it, get the group together, get the key, open it up, and they're there.
Okay. So let's talk about that for a moment. What exactly is a LibGuide?
As I said, I like to describe it as it's an electronic pathfinder.
Okay.
It's a way of using library materials more effectively. So we start out with a general material about what the library is, hours, how to talk to reference librarians, how to communicate with us, whether in person or by telephone or by chat or by email, so that you can get questions answered. Then we typically go into materials about, where are you going to find books about this subject area? Where are some of the things you should be exploring? Which are some significant reference works that you might want to look at? Which are the databases that we have that might help you find articles about this subject? One of the problems many students have is we all look at the articles, read them, pull out materials, use them in our papers, and our teachers want to make sure that we cite the work correctly. Where do you get the information from? And citation is something students always complain about. How do we do citation? Well, we have guides for that built into the LibGuide as well.
Excellent. So you are listening to Nassau Community College Forum on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Kevin Boston Hill, and our guest today is Dr. Arthur Friedman. And help me out one more time with your title. I'm
a reference librarian, and I hold the title of professor in the library department.
Okay, professor in our library department. So let's get back to let's talk about that citing for a moment, because we know that that is a big issue in today's society and overall. And so how can we teach our students to properly cite their documents?
Well, that's a very important piece for it. One of the things students realize is with the computer tools, it's very easy to do cut and paste today. But that is not the best way of demonstrating your knowledge of the material, which is typically why you do a paper. So it's using that material. Who produced materials before? It's often said that research is based on us standing on the shoulders of giants and looking out further and seeing what new directions we can find. So when we're looking for resources, finding articles about it, you have this material. You paraphrase that within your paper. You're telling in citation who did that work. Where
Right.
can it be found? If I want to go back and explore that further, where might I find it? In fact, all research should be replicated at some point,
Right.
because you never know if there was a mistake made earlier. And there's been some recent issues of that, of very serious mistakes made and actually getting published in refereed journals and scholarly materials. Now, that has caused that researcher grief later on. One of the examples that I often use is the one about the measles vaccine and autism. Which a researcher published an article about that back in 1998. Was in a very prestigious British medical journal. And when someone went back some years ago and reread the paper and looked at the research, said the conclusions are bogus. He left out the data that disproved his point of view.
Right.
And when you did that, you found that autism and measles, the measles vaccine, were totally unrelated. There was nothing to it. Although that mythology still keeps getting out there, people repeating that.
Exactly. I'm sure that seems to be a growing problem, that you have flawed data and flawed information, and then that gets cited again and quoted again. So it seems to, over time, it seems to become law almost, and then people kind of forget that you're building a foundation on flawed data.
Yeah, I tell another story. When I was in charge of distance education at Nassau Community College, I was reading an article in a trade publication, and the author was talking about how a member of the New York Jets football team was a Nassau Community College student taking courses through distance education. And I thought that was interesting, except for the fact that I didn't recognize the student's name or the player as a student at Nassau Community College. And I checked the records, and sure enough, the person was not a registered student, was not taking courses. I sent the person a letter. I told him, your information is flawed. You did not, this person is not that way. That author sent me back a letter telling me that I was incorrect because he got his information from the New York Times. So that place that we look on as the newspaper of record in the United States doesn't always get all the facts correct.
You're absolutely right. And since we're talking about that, because we think of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and CNN and all those places as being very reputable news sources, AP even. When we think about in today's world of alternative facts and fake news and getting our information in 140 characters or less, I guess, how does the library help to influence that information literacy?
Okay. Well, the topic of fake news is not a new topic. It actually goes back before the forming of the Republic. But the issue that we talk about is you need to look at more than one source. Even if you're finding material through a database that you like and you think that this is giving you great information, check another database. Find other materials. See if it corroborates what you're saying. Who produced the material? Where did the information come from? Are they bringing you that data from different places so you can see that it matches up? And you have to make some judgments there. Does something sound too good to be true? Probably is.
It probably is, exactly. Does it pass the smell test? Right, exactly. So now this is going to go back a little bit in what I'm going to ask you next, but because I remember using card catalogs and microfilm and having to know the Dewey Decimal System to find a book and everything. How has the resources, or the search for resources changed over the years?
Well, I was chair of the library from 1985 to 1991. And in 1987, we were able to convince the county to give us $250,000 to automate the library's catalog. And we brought in the first online public access catalog into Nassau Community College at that point. And within about 2 years, we were able to get rid of the card catalog.
Okay.
So the information is all stored electronically. Now, I somewhat missed the card catalog also. Those of us who are older might remember Bell Telephone when it talked about its yellow pages.
Yes.
Okay, which was a finding tool for companies and things of that nature. It used to talk about let your fingers do the walking. And one of the things that was really great about the card catalog is that when you walk through the cards, you suddenly came across